Hi everyone, welcome. Today we're talking about giving pills to fearful dogs. This is part 2 of a series. Training your fearful dog to take pills. Who is this for? This is for you if you have trouble getting your dog to take pills and your dog is a slow or suspicious eater and your dog doesn't quickly and consistently take treats from your hand and also may find your hand reaching toward them to be a little scary. This is a quick recap from last week, but why is this so hard? A lot of our really sensitive and fearful dogs are less enthusiastic about eating than some other dogs. They may be more likely to eat slowly and chew more, which results in them sometimes biting into pills, which is a real problem since that can make them more suspicious of food and less likely to take pills in the future. And a lot of the very helpful strategies that are out there for getting dogs to take pills or training them to take pills rely on them eating quickly from your hand. And a lot of our sensitive dogs just won't do that. So last week I started telling you about the 2 things in a row game. The big picture goal of this game is to teach your fearful dog to swallow a pill without chewing. And that pill at the end of a training may be completely undisguised, or maybe you put a little something on it to help it go down more easily. But the idea is not to rely on disguising it, since disguises will often fail eventually. Step 1 that we covered last week is just get the behavior of swallowing anything quickly without chewing. And I showed you how, with a few dogs I've been working with lately, having 2 small, soft, high-value treats close to each other on a novel surface was pretty successful at getting the dogs to kind of inhale these treats quickly. The novel surface is so that you're using something that has no history with medications or pills in the past. So once you've got your dog swallowing these small high-value treats without chewing them, we want to start generalizing that behavior to different types of treats, different sizes, different textures, so that we can work toward an actual pill. But we have a little bit of a challenge about how to reinforce your dog for swallowing less valuable items if you can't move your hand toward them because of the way this game was set up in the first step. And if that doesn't make sense, I'll just talk through it really quickly. This is how it looked in step 1. We have a plate or some surface. You're going to put 2 small high-value treats on it and then take your hand away. And then the dog will usually eat them both, hopefully quickly, hopefully without chewing. And last week I talked about how to make that more likely to happen. Here the treats are the same, so it doesn't matter what order your dog eats them in. And the reason I think this is working for the dogs that I've used it with so far is that the second treat can be both a prompt and a reinforcer for eating that first treat quickly. So that is why we are able to get swallowing the treat quickly without chewing. However, once we start to introduce some lower value items as we move toward the dog actually swallowing a pill, now the order matters. If we have 2 items on the plate, we can't control which item the dog eats first. Some dogs may well just eat the cheese, the high value item, and leave the other one. If your dog is not at all worried about your hand coming toward the plate while they're near it, you could reinforce swallowing that lower value item with another piece of cheese or other high value treat quickly. But I know a lot of your sensitive dogs might find that quick reach toward the plate actually punishing. So we need another strategy. So step 2, before we can start generalizing our swallowing a thing without chewing it behavior, we need to find a strategy for reinforcing, quote-unquote, cleaning your plate without chewing that doesn't rely on reaching toward the dog. So here's what I've been trying out recently that seems to be working well. I've added a second treat delivery station, and I have found that it is helpful to teach this sort of pattern of having treats on one plate or one treat station and then on the other one, to teach it with the high value treats before moving on to something lower value. I found that Pancake was a little bit confused and would just hang out by the first station until he figured out that, oh, there are treats over on that other one as well. So I worked on this a little while before trying to use it in more advanced training steps. So clean your plate to get seconds, 2 high-value treats on plate 1. When your dog eats those, and hopefully, you're using the small high-value treats and they are not chewing. If you are using a marker word or clicker, that's when you would mark when they swallow the second treat. And then put 2 treats on the other treat station, the other plate, or whatever you're using. Now, I should mention, if your dog isn't used to a marker word, or they maybe startle or even are afraid when you speak, don't use a marker word. Just put the treats on the second plate. So here's a little video of Pancake. Here's my 2 cutting boards. And you could sit more equally between them so you don't have to reach over like I am, but I didn't want to be in the way of the camera. So this that was after some practice to get him used to the pattern of going between the 2 cutting boards. If you need more space between you and your dog for them to eat quickly, but you want to use a second sort of treat delivery location, I also experimented with this a little bit. So I'm walking between them and they're farther apart. So now what? Now you've got your dog eating and swallowing small high-value treats without chewing them, and you have a way to reinforce finishing 2 items on one treat station by delivering treats on another treat station. Next, we'll start trying to introduce some lower value treats and see if we can maintain our swallow without chewing behavior. So stay tuned, I'll talk about that next week. In summary, for this part 2 of the pill training series, the goal here was to find a way to reinforce swallowing lower value treats without scaring the dog. So I added a second treat delivery station. You may need to experiment with what maintains fast eating without swallowing for your dog. You may need to vary distance between the 2 treat stations. The mechanics of your treat delivery may matter, bending down and placing them, or reaching, or maybe a small toss onto the treat station if you can manage it. Just be patient with your dog. They may at first need a moment to figure out what is going on and to approach a new treat station and eat the food there, and that's okay. Give them the time they need. I hope this proves helpful to you. Don't forget to get your free PDF on caring for your fearful dog at the link below, dogkindtraining.com/care, and I will see you next week.